Oh, hello there. Yes, I called up about 3 weeks ago with a very serious case of energy theft. This is not from a corporation, I hasten to add. This is just one person in a building going into the wall cavity, finding a mains wire, and stealing about £1,000 of electricity from a neighbour. And this has also been accompanied now with about 2 years of terrorism, and I'm talking about the suspect, the main suspect in this theft, literally launching murder attempts, etc., in order to try and disappear and destroy the evidence I've collected of the theft. So I'm extremely keen that something was done about this. I reported it to yourselves on the online form that is on your website. Yeah, and I was assured the matter would be looked into. I then waited a couple of weeks, called back, and they said, well, there's, it might not be looked into because it's not a corporation that's been the victim. I then called back again and I was told it was being looked into, that the last piece of advice was wrong and that this would be fully investigated. I then called back again and was told that...
Who did you call back then?
Sorry, who?
Who did you call, yes?
Well, I've called yourself on numerous occasions. This is to report the theft. I've reported it online via your form about 3 times. I've submitted information on the form and been assured, actually, I think on the last phone call, I was told that all the evidence I submitted, which has been comprehensive and highly detailed, I've got a video, I've got photographic evidence, which is, as I say, highly comprehensive and does expose the suspect very clearly. And you said, or rather the person I spoke to, who couldn't give their name away, said that they would forward all the information to the supplier of the electricity of my tenant. My tenant, by the way, is the victim of this theft. And I was assured that all the information would be sent, or the evidence I submitted would be sent to the energy supplier, which in this case is Utilita. I therefore said, well, shall I follow up with Utilita, because this is now 3 weeks, to find out if there's any progress. The lady said, yes, you may as well go ahead. So I said, okay, yeah, so I called Utilita, and they replied by saying that any theft that occurs after the meter is not their responsibility, so they will automatically ignore the whole thing. Quite simply because it's not theft from a corporation, and it has occurred after the meter. In other words, somewhere between the meter and the consumer box, the fuse cupboard. So this I found really quite disconcerting and disappointing, quite simply because we have long stretches of mains wire running from this meter cupboard outside the building, lending huge opportunities for people to just tap into them, steal electricity, which is exactly what's happened in this case. And just to make matters worse, I've had to pull out the internal mains wire, disconnect it because somewhere in the building someone's tapping into it, and replace it with one laid externally that I can visibly keep an eye on to make sure nobody's actually physically tapping into it, and provide electricity to my tenant, at least, that's not prone to theft. And this, sadly, is now raising another issue of danger to somebody who could potentially stab into this mains wire, this consumer cable, with some kind of blunt object, or a child, say, with a knife, electrocute themselves and even kill themselves. And I don't have any possible way of providing electricity to my tenant other than in this fashion, laid externally on the building. So this, at the moment, is just, just beyond ridiculous in terms of, I've been now the victim of 2 years of terrorism and murder attempts by the main suspect, with a mains wire just laid externally on the building, as I say, which is a potential threat to children. And still, we've not made any progress in actually establishing who is the actual thief. So I've just literally been sent around in circles and just absolutely desperate at this point. I don't know if you can understand my message here.
Yes, I can. Yes. Unfortunately, we are just a reporting sort of centre. We take information on behalf of all the utility companies and pass the information over to them. We don't investigate anything here ourselves. Say. My colleagues that spoke to you would have obviously passed all that information to Utilita if they were the supplier for them to deal with.
Right, right.
I can't really understand why they won't investigate it, to be honest, because it's still theft of electricity. Whichever way you look at it, it's still theft. If someone is tapping into a wire.
Yes.
So, which it does come under their remit because if they are the supplier to that property.
Well, they say no. I mean, they say unless the electricity is being stolen directly from them, they have absolutely no responsibility at all to the issue, which was very frank and quite cold, to be honest with you. And I mean, I was left thinking, well, who is to blame? I mean, actually here, I mean, I think the only thing that they were able to suggest is why don't you call environmental health? Who may be, because I mean, part of the problem, one of the biggest problems here is that have had a qualified electrician called in to have a look at the whole situation. They had immediately said, well, to actually clearly establish who is the thief, they will have to gain access to all 4 flats in the building. Basically, there are 4 flats in the building. One has been the victim, that's my tenant. The other 3 are suspects. So in order to find out which one is actually the real culprit, they have to gain access to all 3 flats and find out, who's been digging into their floorboards and their wall cavities to find mains wires or consumer wires, and obviously, find the thief that way. But without actually having authority to enter the building, they can't do that. So I've been told... Yeah.
I would have thought, as I say, I was sort of under the impression it would be the sort of utility company that would be able to do that, because obviously I know they're not stealing directly from Utilita, but they are tampering with Utilita's in effect infrastructures.
Yes.
Because they're supplying the energy to the building or to those to those 4 flats. It's their it affects their meters. It becomes as I was aware, it becomes, under their remit. That's why we take information and pass it on to the supplier that supplies the property.
Well, I mean, it's rather concerning, this whole situation, because I am under the impression or the understanding that this sort of crime is now escalating nationwide off the charts. And as this, quite simply as, energy prices are rising and doubling and trebling, people are just using this as an excuse to just, steal more from their neighbour. And this, in turn is triggering these energy companies just to turn around and say, well, look, actually, we just don't care, and you may as well go ahead and steal more of it, and that's exactly what they're doing. Just say, go on then, go and steal, take more of it, do what the hell you like. We're going to give you a license to steal, basically. They just don't care, and that's exactly what they're saying. So that at least they're clear about that, which is, one thing. So that leaves me, in the position. I mean, it does say, for example, on your website here, energy theft, speak up, stay safe.
No, exactly. And that's what we are. We are a call centre for all of the utility companies. We are their call centre. They don't, as utility people, they don't have their own call centres. We're the call centre to take.
Oh, I see. I see.
We are not affiliated with any of them. We are we are Crime Stoppers. We host this line for them.
Oh, I see. I see. And so, I mean, that is ridiculous, really. I mean, because the sad fact is here that, I mean, in reality, these people can afford to lose a few quid, these multi-billion, gigantic corporations. But what we have here is normal, everyday people who have not a penny being targeted with thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of theft, being literally, completely just railroaded. And not anybody out there available to help them. If you call the police just turn around and say, oh, we don't have right of access to the building, so nothing we can do about it. That message gets posted onto the thief, who says, great, we're going to double up on this and start stealing more. You know, and so we're only getting messages from the police and from these energy companies that they cannot do anything about it at all, which I find, to be honest with you, really, quite frankly, just not acceptable in terms of, I mean, even from your website, you know, what these energy companies are encouraging you to do is completely dishonest, you know, because it says here, energy theft, speak up, stay safe. If you spot energy theft anywhere, I repeat, anywhere, speak up anonymously now. Now that, on the face of it, is just completely dishonest, because the people being targeted in this country and being, you know, literally robbed blind, you know, have no right to call you. They have, and if they do, they're told that you can't help. You know, and it turns out the whole thing is entirely fictitious. So I don't really have much choice, sadly, but to actually report your company to Trading Standards and say, look, you know, this is a blatant lie. The whole thing is a massive blatant lie, and there's thousands of people here being robbed blind. They've lost millions, and there's not one person available to help them, in truth. So I don't see really what other choice I have moving forward, sadly.
No, well, that's entirely up to you.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I've just literally been forced into a corner and have absolutely no choice. You know, given I'm being subjected to murder attempts, I've got a tenant who's lost over £1,000. I've got children who are about to be literally, you know, electrocuted and murdered. And a website here telling me that I should report all this. And when I do, nothing's done about it. So, I mean, clearly I don't have any option but to collect all this evidence that I've just related to you, post it to Trading Standards and say, look, you know, these people are quite happy. You know, they call themselves Stay Energy Safe. Well, children are being electrocuted. Innocent people are being robbed blind. And you know, there's obviously, you know, I can see it's not your fault. It's corporations who are literally renting.
As explained to you, we are just literally a call centre. We take information and pass it on. We're not an energy supplier. We're not affiliated with them. We are just employed to take the information and pass it on to them. So, you know, it's their messages that are on the website. It's actually the energy suppliers, not us. But as I say, you're entirely welcome to take it to Trading Standards if you wish.
Yes. Well, obviously, I think that, you know, they are forcing you to provide and display just false misinformation. You know, it's just really just the most basic misinformation you can get. You know, which is, you know, to be fair, I mean, it's like we're finding corporations doing this more and more every day. You know, they've realised they can take liberties, and they're not hesitating to do so. I think the more they realise they get away with it, the more they're doing it. So, yeah, I think, you know, that makes it all the more important that people like myself do take this up to Trading Standards and these people. Otherwise, we're just going to see this situation deteriorate rapidly, I think, you know, which is, and it's already beyond bad, you know, beyond ridiculous. So, yeah. Well, I'm extremely disappointed is all I can say. Thank you very much for your time and your patience and your advice. I do appreciate that in this sort of desperate situation. But, yeah, I'm just sorry we can't find any closure to it.
No problem at all. Thank you for your call. Have a good afternoon.
And you too. Cheers now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There we go. I mean, really, innit? I mean...